There's a feeling I'm hoping to articulate. It's not sadness, it's not anger, it's just kind of like meh. Maybe you're the type of person that's used to having big dreams, or like, you know, a full to-do list, or you have packed social calendar, but maybe you've entered a phase now where you're just kind of like, you see all that stuff and you're just like, cool. It's not depression really. It's not apathy. It's more, it's like indifference. It's indifference. It's like you're sitting in the mud. Ugh, you're like gooey, but you're not necessarily mad about it. You just literally don't have energy to put toward it being any different than it currently is. And it's just kind of like, all right, whatever. Rolling with it. Here we go. It's a feeling that you don't want to be here forever, but you're aware that you're here right now, and it just is what it is. And it's just going to have to be okay for the moment. There's a story I think about sometimes when I'm in this headspace. It's called The Appointment in Samara. A man in Baghdad sees a death in the marketplace, and death sees him too. And for a moment, there's this gesture, like death makes us startled, and the man panics, and he's like, death is here. He thinks death is here for him, so he panics and he flees. He takes a horse, he rides as fast as he can to Samara, which is a city far away, thinking that he's outrunning death. But when he gets there, death is waiting. And death was like, well, I was just as surprised to see you in Baghdad because I had an appointment with you here in Samara. So you can't outrun what's yours. That's what that means to me. It's a little grim, but I'm not looking at it as like the ending of something. I'm just looking at it like what will be, you know? And maybe that's the indifference. It colors the indifference. Yeah, it is what it is. C'est la vie. Whatever. Give it up to God. Let go, let God. Like, and I think we know we can't outrun what is for us ultimately. We can't outrun our own becoming. We can't outrun like the next phase of our own evolution. I think a lot of us try. We fight against it. Eventually you come to a place where you're just kind of like, meh. Yep. Cool. All right. Couldn't be bothered. In a strange, like, grateful way. It's not like you're rejecting anything. You're just kind of like, show me, I guess. Just fucking show me. Show me what it is. It's not a lack of belief in, like, self or humanity or spirit or life or dreams, really. Like, you think, you know, those things are there, but they're just kind of they're in the rear view at the moment or something. They're in the back seat. How about? I think that when you arrive at this place of indifference that I'm trying to describe, it's like, you stop trying to run from what is. You don't force yourself to explore any deeper or go anywhere or be anyone other than you are. But you're ready to lean in. You're just not really in like a hurry right now. And there's definitely a difference between indifference and apathy, and then apathy and depression and indifference. I don't use these words interchangeably. I think there's a vast contrast and a big difference between all three. And I feel like they each embody a different archetype of self, at least from my own experience. Indifference is kind of like the friend who's just always vibing, who's just chilling in the background, who's just, I mean, they're there at the party with, you know, the glass of wine in their hand, but they're just kind of like neutral. They're not against anyone. They're not necessarily contributing in a big way. If they're spoken to, they'll speak back, you know, they'll add a quip here and there. They're perfectly viable. They're just not totally in the mood, maybe. I feel like apathy is the friend who's been burned one too many times. I'm humanizing these words right now. I keep dropping this. Apathy has everyone on their heels. Apathy is a truth seer. Maybe the activist turned nihilist in a funny way, maybe. Depression is the friend who did not show up. They're underneath the weighted blanket at home. Their phone's on do not disturb. They're having trouble keeping up with their text messages and their email at work. They've just gone numb now. Feel like this is the character in the screenplay that you want, you root for, but that you can't really reach, who shows up at the end of Act 2 with like the biggest arc. And that's why I feel like this conversation is very nuanced, because I think that we can all, each of us individually, can embody all three of these things. Like, you know, they're all kind of in a similar family, because that's what it's like to be human, right? You're not just the main character, you're the writer, the narrator, you're the director, you're the editor and the producer, the supporting actors, and you're the antagonist. But right now, the feeling I'm describing is the part of the movie where nothing's happening. Maybe it's, you know, you leave the theater and you're like, yeah, they could have cut off some time there because I felt like it dragged there in the middle. You just feel like blah, just ugh. Kind of feel like structureless a little bit. Yeah, invertebrate. You're in your invertebrate era. You're goo. You're in metamorphosis. You're the caterpillar in metamorphosis on the way to the butterfly. It's kind of like this molecular mush, this cellular melting. The indifference I'm describing is like it's hard to see past it in the moment. And maybe that is how it feels to be in metamorphosis. You're inside of this cocoon. You can't see out, and you're just kind of like mush. And it's possible that, yeah, like your blueprint, your DNA is being rearranged. And the only way to really allow for that reformation to continue is just to like surrender, right? That even the caterpillar resists its own metamorphosis. Even the butterfly resists its own metamorphosis. I can't remember how the quote goes. So yeah, it's important to surrender, you know, just let you be goo. Bars. This is the shapeless, like, slop stage. This is, you're fermenting. Sometimes I cannot figure out the temperature. It's hot and then cold and hot and then cold. Welcome to the Midwest. And I think there's a trap here though too, because all these things are so similar. I think that indifference can also show up as fear. It's possible that we perform indifference when we are fearful, but it's easier to pretend than to admit that we're scared. So we pretend that we're just above it all. Whatever, don't care. That feeling, it's possible that energy is just a protection. It's bracing you from disappointment because you've been disappointed before. You know, you know that shit sucks. You don't want that again. So it's perfectly valid. Because if you don't care too much, then it can't hurt too much, right? Because you never cared about it in the first place. So you're not even gonna let yourself feel it. And that's that protective armor, right? Those are the walls we build. That's the conditioning that we put into place. Because, yeah, for many reasons, right? What if we did admit that we wanted that thing and then we didn't get it, and then, you know, it's not even just like the shame and upset or the guilt and disappointment, or maybe it's embarrassment. But you can care. You can care. It's fun to care. It's cool to care. Caring is cool. Tyler, the Creator. I fucking love Tyler. I'm thinking of this video of Tyler in my head right now. Maybe I'll clip it in right here.
He gives a fuck.
He wasn't too cool to care.
He wasn't too cool to care.
Dipset,
You can't be
cool.
too cool, because if you too cool, you gonna freeze to death.
Right.
Niggas be trying to be too cool and not be silly and always try to be hard, and it's like, bro, you look dumb.
So yeah, it's fucking cool to care.
Bro, you look dumb.
And when I think about the story of Samara, the man runs because he's afraid of death. But what if he had stayed in Baghdad and sat still long enough to just ask himself, like, what is it really that I'm running from? Because in the spiritual context, like, death is not the end, right? It's the beginning. It's just the start of something new. The end of an old self, right? The beginning of a new self. The expiration of a dream and the beginning of a new one. An outdated version of you or a behavior that you're letting go of. Like, the indifference can actually just be... It's kind of a funeral in a way as well. There is some grief maybe in the indifference now that I'm thinking and feeling into it. Yeah, I wonder what that's about. If that fits for anyone, let me know. I haven't thought too deeply about that yet. But I would love to do a video on grief, actually. Yeah, I'm gonna do a video on grief. That has to be its own separate thing. Stay tuned. when you're in this gooey phase, this metamorphosis, your invertebrate era, if you will, what should we be doing? How are we contributing to society today, right? How are we moving our dreams forward? How are we, conquering the world, right? How are we girl bossing? How are we, hustle culturing? How are we CEOing today? How are we stunting? How are we serving? Whatever it is that you do, however it is that you perceive your most evolved, worthy self to be. We put a lot of emphasis on that, so it can be really uncomfortable to sit in the place of indifference. And even when we know that it's just a phase and it's going to be passing, just like every other, emotion, and it's just like weather, clouds will pass, and we know this. That's why we're in this place, and we just want to articulate it a little bit more to ourselves while we're here, and it's not productive to force anything. You can't really fake the fire. And if you're still watching this video, I genuinely believe that if this message is connecting with you, you're not the type of person that likes to phone things in anyways. So that it's more productive to actually rest and call your energy back to yourself during these moments, and just understand that there are forces at play here that are working on details that you could never possibly understand, and that maybe while you're in this place of just indifference, I almost said confusion, but yeah, maybe there is some confusion in there. Maybe that's why that came through, because it's in the confusion, how are we able to take steps forward for ourselves? Maybe we don't even know what those steps are right now, what those look like. Maybe you do, but if you've arrived at this place of indifference, it's feeling oh, there's going to be another way to do things now. And you're really confident in, the emotion that I'm describing is just this, it's almost just a calm acceptance. I think it's cool because it can be a place to sit in observation as well. So how can you take notes, little creative notes of this place that you're in? Maybe it's just a phase where you're being guided to go deeper into yourself and ask yourself more questions about who you are, who you've been, who you want to be. Maybe you're just, you're shuffling your priorities right now, but you're not in a rush. And that's a beautiful thing. And when we sit in that place of observation and listen, we do kind of fill up with inspiration no matter what. We do automatically receive things that inspire us and kind of pique our curiosity again, and allow us to kind of take that next step forward. Don't move until you're moved, right? There's that, God is going to move you. You'll be inspired, you'll be pulled to move when you're ready to move, and you know that. And maybe the most productive thing you can do in this place, maybe the most productive thing you can do in this phase is just have a glass of water or something. Stare out the window, feel into that indifference, and let whatever emotions that want to inform themselves come forward, right? I know we all have so much shit going on in life, but just let it be boring if you can. Because I really believe that if you sit and observe the monotony and the simple kind of unfoldment of your life, practicing mindfulness, what starts as such a simple kind of what can feel reductive almost to sit in stillness, you're actually flooded with truth. And I really believe that that's when it sneaks in. I feel like there's a cloudiness in our own vision when we are feeling indifferent or apathetic, or our days are colored with depression. I don't think that this means that you don't care. It doesn't mean that at all. I think it's quite the opposite. You care, right? You care so much. You're just waiting for inspiration for what to care about next. I honestly believe that. And it's so simple too, but that shift of perspective to taking the attention off of ourselves and placing it in the room where we are, even, it just creates a space for us to just shift the perspective and if we can stay in that place long enough, you know, I think it was Narcissus, the Greek, is it a Greek god, Narcissus? Narcissist? The story is that he died, or she died? Oh God, I should have looked this up. And Narcissus drowned staring at their own reflection on the water. So when we're in this place of indifference, now we know we're just molting, we're fermenting, we're between stories, we're in the boring chapter of the story. There's got to be a boring chapter of the story, because what that is doing by design is it's setting up the little details that will ultimately carry through, you know? You got to have that. You just got to have that. It's a part of the story. You can't have a full, colorful, vibrant, beautiful story without every single element. If you're in that part of the story, in that part of the movie of your life, if you actually listen close enough, you'll still hear the score. You'll still hear the composition of the music. Hear the birds. And pretty soon, the composer is going to bring the score to its crescendo. And you will be back in that story, and you will be living out that hero's journey that you are here to live. And if you were watching this story, this is the part as the audience member where you would either lean in and continue watching all the way through the end, or you would turn it off. So my question to the viewer is, what story do you want to tell? What do you want to say? Because you have choice now. In this moment, you have patience, you have calmness, you're tranquil, you're in acceptance. You're moving into the metamorphosis of the butterfly because you're so aware that something, it could be a very simple shift, a friend calls you out of nowhere and you end up having a fun, beautiful Sunday, or perhaps waiting in the indifference brings you something even more miraculous and even more life-altering and even more abundant than you could have imagined or thought of if you had tried to control your way through that feeling of apathy, indifference, when your experience is colored with depression. I'm sending you so much compassion. I'm sending you so much love at this time. Know that this is just a temporary moment. It could change, in 3 seconds. It could change in 3 days, and maybe it changed throughout this video, I hope. Anyway, thanks for sticking with it, and I appreciate you being here. Have a great rest of your day.